So you finally started to get on top of your injury, your pain levels are settled, and you've signed up for that 10k half marathon, or maybe you're jumping into a marathon. And the first 3-4 weeks of your training, everything seems like it's going well. But then around 5 or 6 weeks in, the injury flares up again, and you're back on the sidelines, getting the same advice from your physio: rest, ice, and build back gradually. And you think it's bad luck, or overtraining, or maybe you're just getting too old. But 90% of the time, it's because you were following a plan that was never designed for your body. It didn't take into account your injury history or your current fitness levels. So my name's Joe, I'm a physio, marathon runner, and Ironman finisher, and I work with competitive runners over 40 who are stuck in the injury cycle. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly why every time you try and build up your running volume, your body keeps breaking down, and what your running plan actually needs if you're going to get back to doing 12 to 16 weeks of consistent training without another injury cropping up. So let me paint you a picture of what usually happens. So you've been off running for a few weeks, maybe months, because an injury's kept you sidelined. So your pain levels have finally started to settle, and you're ready to get back out there. So you Google a return to running plan, 10k, half marathon plan, or maybe you download the Runner app, and you get started. And a few weeks in, everything feels good. You're hitting your distances, keeping up with the plan, and fitness is coming back. Then week 5, week 6 arrives. The plan is ramping up now. Longer runs, higher intensity, more volume. And that's when your body starts to crumble. So calf tightens, knee flares up again, that familiar Achilles ache comes back. You do try and push through, but within a run or two, you're done, back on the sidelines, and you're left wondering, what happened? I thought I was following the plan. But the thing is, the plan doesn't know your injury history. It doesn't know that you've had 3 calf strains in the past 2 years, and it doesn't know your current fitness level. It doesn't know if you can actually handle where it's starting you, and it doesn't know what your body can truly manage right now. So it gives you a generic template. Week 1 starts somewhere, week 5 ramps up, week 10 to 12 peaks. But this plan is built for the average runner with no injury history. So when you're breaking down at week 5, it's not bad luck, and it's not just because you're getting older. It's because the plan was never designed for your body. It has no idea about your injury history or your current fitness level. So realistically, it's just a square peg in a round hole. So before I show you what your running plan actually needs, if you want to get back to doing 12 to 16 weeks of consistent training without your body breaking down, you need to actually understand why generic plans keep breaking your body. And it comes down to how your body actually recovers from injury. So your cardiovascular fitness, your heart, your lungs, your aerobic capacity, that can generally build back pretty quick when you start running again, especially if you've got a long history of being a runner, because over the years of consistent training, you would have built a decent aerobic base. And yes, you will decondition, especially if you haven't been able to run consistently for the past few weeks or few months. But generally, when you start getting back out there, your fitness can feel like it's coming back fairly quickly. But your structural capacity, so your tendons, your joints, muscles, connective tissue, basically all the tissues that have to absorb the impact of every single stride, they can adapt much slower, especially if you've been dealing with recurring injuries. And this creates a gap. So there is a dangerous gap between how ready you feel your fitness levels are and how ready your body actually is. So here's what happens with generic plans. So week 1, week 2, week 3, fitness is climbing fast, breathing well, pace feels controlled, the plan feels manageable. But your tissues, your tendons, your joints, your muscles, they're still adapting, maybe at 30% of what they need to be. So week 5 arrives and the plan is starting to ramp, and your fitness level says, let's go, I'm ready for it. But your tissues and body says, I can't handle this load yet. And that's when you break. So that's why you end up stuck in that injury cycle. So what does your running plan actually need? Well, it needs 3 things, and generic plans don't give you any of them. So number 1, you need a baseline matched to your current capacity, not week 1 equals 5k because that's what the plan says, but what your body can handle right now, pain-free, without symptoms flaring up during the run or in 48 hours after. And here's how you find it. So you go out for a test run at easy pace, conversational effort, and you run until you feel pain, compensation, or you hit a distance where things start to feel like they're going to break down again. And that's your break point. So your baseline, you take 10 to 20% off that. So let's make this concrete. So let's say, for example, you ran 5k and just at that point, your calf started to tighten up. So 5k would be your breaking point. So your baseline, we need to take 10 to 20% off that. So your baseline would be 4 to 4.5k. So why do we take 10 to 20% off? Well, first, because inflammation doesn't always show up immediately. So sometimes you feel fine during the run, fine that evening, but then you wake up the next day feeling stiff and sore. So that's your body telling you that you exceeded your baseline. And it can take 24 to 48 hours for tissue irritation to develop. And number two, because there's natural variation day to day. Monday's run might feel different than Thursday's, depending on sleep, stress, or everything else you did that week. And thirdly, because you want to start below your breaking point, not at it. We're building capacity here, not testing limits. Your baseline is the distance you can run comfortably at easy pace with zero pain during the run and zero flare-ups in the 48 hours after. For some with serious tissue damage or a long layoff, your baseline might be 500 meters or less. And if your baseline is small, here's what you do. You use frequency, not distance. If you can only run 500 meters pain-free, don't run 500 meters once a week and wait. Run 500 meters, rest the day, try 500 meters again, and then rest the day. So doing those multiple shorter sessions can help build capacity faster than just doing one longer session when your tissue tolerance is lower. So think about it like rehabbing a shoulder. If you can only lift 2 kilos without pain, you don't lift 2 kilos once a week hoping it improves. You lift 2 kilos consistently, you gradually increase the frequency and build tissue tolerance through repetition. And when your tissue tolerance starts to improve, you can then gradually increase the weight. So the same principles apply with rebuilding your running volume. But again, you need to make sure you're not pushing into pain or pushing past your breaking point. So number two, you need progressive increases matched to your recovery rate. So not generic 10% per week rule, but how fast can your structural capacity refill and adapt? So here's what generic plans do. They tell you to increase 10% per week every week. So maybe 15k total one week, 16.5 the next, 18 the next, and so on. Obviously, it looks sensible on paper, and having this gradual ramp up is better than just winging it. But here is the problem. The 10% rule assumes your body adapts at a consistent, predictable rate, but it doesn't. Tissue adaptation depends on your injury history, your age, your genetics, sleep, stress levels, strength work. So if you're a 45-year-old runner who's had 3 calf strains in the past 2 years, your calves need more time to adapt than someone who's never been injured. So if you're doing proper progressive strength work, your structural capacity might be building faster, and you might be able to handle a slightly more aggressive ramp up in your volume. But if you're not doing any strength work, your capacity will be building slower. So you need to be more conservative with your increases. So again, generic plans don't account for this. They give everyone the same progression, 10% per week, and just see how you get on. So what happens? Some runners progress too slowly. They end up undertraining when truly they could handle more, so the plan holds them back. Other runners, so most over 40s who are coming back from injury, end up progressing too quickly, and their structural capacity can't keep up with what the plan is demanding. So you end up back injured, stuck on the sidelines. So your progression rate needs to match your recovery rate. Not a rule, not a percentage, but it needs to be meticulously tracked with what your body can handle. And then number 3, you need deloads programmed before breakdowns. So not rest when you feel tired, but planned recovery weeks built into the plan before your structural capacity is pushed too far. Here's what most generic plans do. They tell you to build for 8 to 12 weeks straight. Maybe they throw in an easy week right before race day to help you taper. But by then, if you've been following a generic progression for 10 weeks, you've already broken down or you're carrying a niggly injury into race day. Strategic deloads prevent this. So every 4 to 5 weeks, you want to program a lighter week at 20 to 30% volume reduction. That gives you structural capacity time to catch up, to refill properly. Instead of just pushing through and tapering at the end of your plan, you need to plan these in throughout. And if you start to notice increasing pain or flare up of your injury at any point in the plan, it's really good to ease off and just consider how fast those pain levels settle down. If it recovers quickly, after you've stopped running, the pain settles straight away, you're likely in that safe zone. But if the pain levels last for more than 24 to 48 hours, you might be risking pushing your structural capacity too far. So then you need to revisit your running volume and intensity and have a look at what changes you need to make to reduce the risk of another breakdown. So let's be honest about the plan you're trying to follow right now. Does it start at your baseline, the distance your body can actually handle today, not an arbitrary number? Or does it tell you to start here without knowing about your injury history? Does it progress at your rate, based on how fast your structural capacity is building? Or does it just say increase 10% per week and hope for the best? And does it program deloads before you break down? Are you having strategic recovery weeks built into the plan? Or does it just tell you to rest when you're tired, listen to your body? If you answered no to any of those questions, that might be why you keep breaking down every time you try and get back to running consistently. It's not you, it's likely the plan. So you might understand now that your fitness recovers faster than your tissues, and you might already be doing some running specific strength work, and you might even understand what your running plan needs. But when you're standing there on Monday morning wondering, which exercises do I do today? How many sets? What weight? What pace should I run? How far? When do I back off? Am I ready to test my baseline? Should I progress this week? How do I know if I'm actually building capacity? What needs to come next in my plan? Ultimately, this is when all the guesswork starts. And that guesswork is what keeps you stuck, frustrated, and in the injury cycle. Because knowing what to do and actually doing it correctly with the right structure, the right progression, the right timing, those are two very different things. So you do need a complete system, a step-by-step framework that shows you exactly where you are right now, what you need to do next, and how to climb from injured to racing without guessing. So I've developed a 5-step system specifically for competitive runners over 40 who keep breaking down, and it's called the resilience ladder. Each rung builds on the last. You can't skip rungs, but when you climb it properly, you don't just get back to running, you get back to racing competitively. So I've made a full video breaking down the complete system, all 5 rungs, what each one means, where you are right now, and what you need to do to climb all the way to the top. So if you want a full roadmap, not just the concepts, but an actual step-by-step system that will get you out of the injury cycle and back to racing 10Ks, half marathons, or marathons consistently again, go and watch that video now.